My name is Sabrina Lane, and I am 30 years old. Last Tuesday, I sat in my office in Portland and listened to 43 voicemails from my family, people I had not spoken to in 7 years. Not one of them said, "I'm sorry." Every single one said the same 2 words: help me. 7 years ago, I walked out of my mother's house with $200, 1 suitcase, and the clothes on my back. My family told everyone in our town I was unstable. They said I needed help. They said they were worried sick. They were not worried. They were relieved. And they would have stayed relieved if my sister had not typed my name into Google last week and found out I was no longer the broken girl they had been describing at church lunches. Before I tell you what I did with those 43 voicemails, stay with me. And if you have ever had family disappear until they needed something from you, subscribe before you forget. This story is for anyone who was called selfish for finally choosing oxygen. Thanksgiving 2019 was the night everything broke. Ridgefield, Ohio, population a little over 4,000. The kind of town where people know what time you came home before you have taken off your coat. The kind of place where a story can move from a kitchen table to a church pew before the coffee gets cold. Thanksgiving at the Lane house meant my mother's china on the long table, 15 relatives packed elbow to elbow, and my father pouring wine like silence was a thing you could drown. I was 23. I worked 2 jobs, waiting tables at Rosario's and answering phones at a real estate office downtown. I was saving every dollar I could, cash in envelopes, tips in a coffee tin, a spreadsheet on my old laptop that I checked every night before bed. My sister Marlene had just been promoted to marketing coordinator at a regional insurance firm. Same pay, new title, but in my family titles mattered more than rent money. My mother, Donna Lane, stood at the head of the table and lifted her glass. "To Marlene," she said, "our shining star, always making this family proud." 15 people raised their glasses. I raised mine too. Nobody asked what I was doing. Nobody asked about my classes, or my savings, or whether I was still planning to finish school. I was wallpaper in my own family house. But I had come to that dinner with one question. A simple one, I thought. I waited until dessert. Plates were being cleared. My brother Kevin was arguing with a cousin about football. My father, Gavin, was in his recliner even though dinner was not fully over. The room had softened into that holiday hum where everybody talks over everybody and calls it togetherness. I turned to my mother. "Mom, is there any money left in Grandma Rose's education fund? She told me she set aside money for each of us." The room went quiet. Not peaceful quiet. The kind that tells you a grenade rolled under the table, and everyone saw it except you. My mother set her coffee cup down, slowly. Then she looked at me, then at every person in the room, and when she spoke, her voice was sweet enough to make your teeth hurt. "See," she said, "this is what I have been dealing with. She's been acting erratic for months." I did not answer right away. I sat there with pumpkin pie going cold on my plate while 15 pairs of eyes landed on me like I had cursed in church. Aunt Deanna reached over and patted my hand. "Honey, your mother just wants what's best." I excused myself and went to the kitchen, because that was what I did at every family gathering. I cleaned while everyone else celebrated. Muscle memory. The faucet was running, but I could still hear voices through the doorway. My mother talking to Aunt Paula, low but not low enough. Rose's fund went to Marlene's sorority dues and her car. Sabrina doesn't need it. She's not going anywhere anyway. I turned off the water. Grandma Rose had set up education accounts for both of us, $12,000 each. She told me herself 2 years before she died. She sat me at her kitchen table, held my hands, and said, "This is for your future, sweetheart. Nobody can touch it but you." Somebody touched it. I walked back into the dining room. My mother was refilling her wine. "That money was mine," I said. "Grandma left it for me. You had no right." Donna Lane did not flinch. She set the bottle down, folded her hands, and tilted her head the way she always did right before she rewrote reality. "You are being dramatic, Sabrina. You always do this. You make everything about money." "I am asking about $12,000 that was left to me by name. And I am telling you that you sound just like your grandmother, always stirring things up." That stopped me. Grandma Rose was the kindest person I had ever known. My mother said her name like it was something on the bottom of a shoe. 10 minutes later, my mother called everyone into the living room. I knew what was coming. I had seen the play before. Different holiday, different trigger, same stage. Donna Lane in the center of the room, performing concern for an audience that never bought a ticket but always took a seat. "I have tried to keep this private," she said, touching the corner of her eye with a napkin, "but I think everyone needs to know. Sabrina has not been well. She has been having episodes. I have been covering for her, but tonight—" She gestured toward me like I was evidence. I looked at my father. Gavin sat in his recliner with both hands on his knees, staring at the carpet. He said nothing. I looked at Kevin, my younger brother. He leaned against the wall with his arms crossed and gave a small nod. Not to me. To her. I looked at Marlene. She was scrolling through her phone. 15 relatives in that room. Not one said, "Sabrina, are you okay?" Not one said, "Donna, that seems cruel." Not one asked about the money. I went upstairs, packed one suitcase, $200 in tip money from Rosario's, a winter coat and a small wooden box Grandma Rose had left me. I had kept it on my dresser for 2 years without opening it, because opening it meant admitting she was really gone. I walked down the stairs and through the living room. My mother's voice followed me. "If you walk out that door, do not bother coming back." I did not slam it. I closed it gently, because I knew I would never open it again. Outside, snow was falling on Ridgefield, Ohio. I had a suitcase, $200, and nowhere to go. That was the last time I heard my mother's voice for 7 years. I bought a Greyhound ticket at the station on Route 40. The farthest I could get with what I had was Portland, Oregon. 38 hours on a bus with my suitcase between my knees and Grandma Rose's box on my lap. I did not sleep. I watched America pass through the window. Cornfields, flat roads, mountains, rain, cities where no one knew my name, and that felt like mercy. Outside Omaha, the woman next to me offered half her sandwich. She was going to Boise to see her grandchildren. She did not ask why I was crying. She just handed me a napkin and looked out the window. Sometimes strangers give you more grace in 10 seconds than your family gives you in 23 years. Portland in December was wet and gray, and kinder than it had any reason to be. My first night, I slept at a women's shelter off Burnside. The second week, I moved into a hostel that smelled like bleach, damp coats, and bad decisions. I had no credit history, no local references, no emergency contact, no backup plan. On every form for almost 2 years, I wrote NA. Not applicable. That is a strange thing to write where family is supposed to go. I found a job within 2 weeks. Receptionist at a small consulting firm called Harbor & Associates. 8 employees. Cramped office on the 3rd floor of a converted warehouse in the Pearl District. They helped communities apply for development grants. I answered phones, sorted mail, made coffee, filed contracts. It was not glamorous. It was a paycheck. 3 weeks into my new life, I checked Facebook for the first and last time. My mother had posted in the family group, "Please keep Sabrina in your prayers. She is going through a difficult time, and we just hope she is safe wherever she is. We love her, and our door is always open." 112 reactions, 26 comments. "You're such a strong mother, Donna. Praying for your family. She will come around when she's ready." Kevin's comment sat near the top. "She always was the dramatic one." 47 likes. I deleted Facebook that night, and I did not look back. Let me be honest about what no contact costs when you are 23 and have almost nothing. No savings, no health insurance, no one to call when you get the flu so badly you end up on the bathroom floor for 2 days, wondering if an ambulance bill would ruin you. No birthday calls, no Christmas cards, no family medical history at doctor's appointments because asking would mean opening a door you almost died closing. And the thing nobody warns you about, the low hum of knowing that somewhere, in Ohio, people are telling a story about you and you cannot correct a single word. I became the family ghost. The cautionary tale my mother carried to church brunches, the troubled daughter, the one they prayed for, the one who broke her poor mother's heart. But silence gave me something too. The first morning I woke up in Portland and was not panicking, I realized something was missing. It took almost a full minute to name it. Donna's voice, the one that had lived inside my head my whole life. You're too much. You're not enough. You're selfish. You're unstable. That voice had gone quiet, like someone finally found the off switch on a radio I had been hearing since childhood. At Harbor and Associates, Marjorie Hayes noticed me before I noticed myself. I reorganized the whole client filing system in my first week. 3 years of messy folders, cross-referenced, color-coded, and searchable. Nobody asked me to do it. I just could not stand the chaos. Marjorie walked past my desk on Friday, stopped, backed up, and looked at the shelves. You reorganized 3 years of client files in 4 days. I looked up. Yes. Who does that? Someone who needed something to control. She did not laugh. She did not pity me. She pulled up a chair and said, "Tell me what else you see that's broken." While I was filing grants in Portland, my mother was filing her version of me in Ridgefield. I learned the details later from Aunt Paula and from an old high school friend who tracked me down years after. Within a month of my leaving, Donna told the women's ministry at First Presbyterian that I was receiving care at a residential facility. She never said which one. She did not need to. In Ridgefield, residential facility means one thing, and people fill in the blank with whatever makes the story juicier. Marlene took over my old apartment above the hardware store. She sold my furniture, kept my winter coats, and told the landlord I had abandoned the lease. My father handled the neighbors. He stood in the driveway with his hands in his pockets and said, "We just hope she's safe, wherever she is." Voice soft, eyes lifted. He never called me. Not once. Kevin posted vague things that first year. Family isn't about blood. It's about loyalty. Some people would rather run than grow up. Praying for people who throw away everything over nothing. Each post got likes. Each one was about me. So that was their version of Sabrina Lane. A troubled girl who snapped at Thanksgiving, abandoned her family, and disappeared. A tragedy they could use. Pretty enough to show in public. Useful for sympathy. For 7 years I was a ghost, and they wrote the obituary while I was still breathing. Year 1 in Portland was survival. Year 2 was the first time I made a plan that belonged only to me. At Harbor and Associates, I moved from reception to project coordination in 6 months. Marjorie gave me a small grant application to manage, a community garden project in outer southeast Portland. I turned it in 3 days early with a revised budget that saved the client 11%. Marjorie read it twice. Then she handed me another project. I enrolled in Portland State University's online business administration program. Classes at night, work during the day. I paid tuition from every paycheck. Small bites, no loans. My first apartment was a shared 2-bedroom in Selwood with a roommate who worked nights. We barely saw each other. I cooked every meal, rice and beans on Monday, pasta on Tuesday, whatever was on sale at Winco for the rest of the week. I bought clothes at Goodwill. I cut my own hair for 2 years. There was no movie montage, no big song, just alarm clocks, spreadsheets, frozen fingers at bus stops, and falling asleep at 1 in the morning with a textbook open on my chest. I did not have a plan to become successful. I had a plan to never feel powerless again. Success was a side effect. There were ugly days in that plan. I do not want to make it sound clean just because I survived it. There was a week in February when the hostel raised its weekly rate, and I had to choose between a bus pass and groceries. I chose the bus pass and ate peanut butter from the jar with a plastic spoon for dinner. There was a night when I got off work late and missed the last bus connection. I walked 40 minutes in rain so cold it felt personal, wearing shoes with a split in the sole. By the time I got back, my socks were soaked, and I sat on the edge of the hostel bed laughing because crying would have taken more energy than I had left. There was the first Thanksgiving in Portland. I bought a turkey sandwich from a grocery store and ate it on a bench near the river. I told myself I was fine because no one was yelling, no one was performing concern, and nobody had stolen from me that year. I was fine. I was also lonely enough that my chest hurt. Both things can be true. That is what I learned in therapy later. Two things can be true at the same time. You can miss people who hurt you. You can be safer without them. You can know leaving saved you and still feel sad when your birthday passes with no call. My first therapist in Portland was a woman named Dr. Helen Park. Sliding scale, small office above a pharmacy, one plant in the corner that looked like it was also trying to recover from something. The first session, she asked why I came. I said, I want to stop hearing my mother's voice when she is not in the room. She wrote that down. Then she said, good, that is specific. Therapy did not fix me because I was not broken. It gave me language for the damage: scapegoat, parentification, enmeshment, financial abuse, character assassination. Those words did not make what happened better. They made it less foggy. Once you can name a thing, it gets harder for other people to rename it for you. Marjorie never treated me like a charity case. She treated me like a person who showed up early, stayed late, and noticed what other people walked past. When I caught a billing error that would have cost the firm $6,000, she called me into her office. You caught something my accountant missed. Your accountant does not check the math twice. And you do? I check everything twice. It's how I grew up. She did not ask what that meant. She understood enough. Marjorie Hayes was the kind of leader who knows that the hungriest workers are not always looking for praise. Sometimes they are looking for proof that effort goes somewhere. I was hungry. She kept feeding me work. She also taught me something I had never seen at home: correction without cruelty. The first big grant I managed almost failed because I missed a required attachment. A small thing, but the kind of small thing that can sink months of work. Marjorie caught it at 6 p.m. the day before submission. My whole body went cold. I started apologizing too fast. I am so sorry. I can fix it. I should have checked it again. I know this is bad. She held up a hand. Sabrina, breathe. I stopped talking. You missed an attachment. You did not burn down the building. That sentence stayed with me for years. In my mother's house, every mistake became evidence of who you were. A forgotten chore meant selfish. A bad grade meant lazy. A question about stolen money meant unstable. At Harbor and Associates, a mistake was a problem to solve. That difference rebuilt me one workday at a time. Marjorie stayed late with me. We found the document, corrected the packet, submitted before the deadline, and the grant was approved 2 months later. When the award letter came in, she dropped it on my desk. See, she said, competence is not never making a mistake. It is knowing what to do after one. I put that sentence in the same mental drawer as Grandma Rose's letter. Words that fed me. I finished my degree at the end of year 3. No ceremony, no cap and gown. I printed the diploma at FedEx, bought a $10 frame from Target, and hung it above my desk. By then, I had an office. Small, with a window that faced the parking lot, but it was mine. Marjorie saw the diploma the next morning. She knocked on the door. Congratulations, she said. How does project manager sound? Harbor and Associates had grown from 8 employees to 35. We expanded into housing development consulting, grant writing for tribal communities, and small business incubation. Marjorie promoted me to project manager, and I took over a team of 10. That same month, Jenna Parker walked through the front door for an interview. Jenna was 30, sharp, and had a laugh that could fill a conference room without permission. She had worked in nonprofit communications in Seattle before burning out hard enough to move cities and start over. We connected fast. Not because of work, because of the thing neither of us usually said first. 3 weeks after she started, we were eating takeout at my desk after a late deadline. She asked why I never mentioned family, so I told her. All of it. The Thanksgiving dinner, the fund, the accusation, the bus, the Facebook posts, the door closing behind me in the snow. It was the first time I had said the whole story out loud to another person. Jenna listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for 10 seconds. Then she said, "Yeah, mine told people I died." I stared at her. "Car accident," she said. That was the cover story. Easier than telling their church friends their daughter was gay. We sat with that for a long time. Then I cried. For the first time since leaving Ohio. On my 28th birthday, I opened Grandma Rose's box. 5 years. I had carried it from Ohio to Portland in a suitcase, from the shelter to the hostel, from the shared apartment to my own place. It sat on my nightstand every night, and every night I did not touch it. Opening it meant admitting she was gone. It also meant admitting she had been the only person in my family who loved me without needing me to shrink. Jenna was the one who pushed me. "You have been staring at that box for 5 years, she said. "It's not a bomb. Open it." So I did. Inside was a strand of pearls, the one Grandma Rose wore to church every Sunday. A photograph of me at 6 years old, grinning with a gap where my front tooth used to be. It was the only childhood photo I owned. My mother never hung pictures of me in the house. Marlene's school portraits lined the hallway. Mine went into a drawer. Under the photograph was a letter, folded once. Grandma Rose's handwriting. Shaky, careful cursive from a woman who believed penmanship was a form of self-respect. "Sabrina, if you are reading this, it means you had the courage to leave." Good. I wanted to leave my whole life, but I was afraid. Do not be like me. Do not hold this family together at the cost of yourself. You do not owe anyone your life. I read it 3 times. The 3rd time, my hands shook so hard the paper rattled. All those years, I thought Grandma Rose wanted me to keep the family together. She had said that at holidays. She said it when I called her crying after fights with my mother. She said it so many times it became part of my operating system. But she had said it in front of the family, under Donna's roof, with Donna listening. This letter, hidden in a box like contraband, was what she had actually meant. There was a postscript, the education fund. I left instructions with Mr. Whitman. Ask Paula. She knows. I sat on my bed with the letter in one hand and the photograph in the other, and finally understood the truth I had been circling for years. Grandma Rose had not asked me to keep the family together. My mother had. Rose's letter was the truth she had been too watched to say out loud. Year 6, Marjorie offered me a title I had never imagined seeing beside my name. Chief Operating Officer. Harbor and Associates had grown to 120 employees, with offices in Portland and Seattle. Our community development programs had impacted more than 50,000 families across the Pacific Northwest. We had been featured in regional business magazines, invited to conferences, and recognized for tribal partnership work. I was not rich, I want that clear. I drove a used Subaru. I lived in a 1-bedroom in Northeast Portland. I had a retirement account, a savings account, and health insurance that covered dental. By Ridgefield standards, I was doing well. By my own standards, the girl who slept in a shelter 7 years earlier was breathing air she never thought she would reach. The magazine interview came out in October. A regional publication ran a profile on women in community development leadership. My photo. My name, my title, the clean version of my story. Started as receptionist, worked my way up, now COO. Marjorie threw a small office party when the article went live. Jenna bought a cake that was supposed to say, "Too cool for school," but came back from the bakery saying, "Coo cool for school." We ate it anyway. My life was quiet, steady, full of people who respected me and work that mattered. I did not search my family online. I did not drive through Ohio on business trips. I did not send anonymous checks or birthday cards. I let them go. Some people would call that cold. I call it survival. When you grow up as the person everyone blames, you learn that distance is not cruelty. It is oxygen, and I had spent 23 years holding my breath. For 7 years, they let me go too. Not a call, not a letter, not even a message through somebody else. My mother told the town I was in a facility, and the town believed her, and nobody checked. Nobody drove to Portland. Nobody searched my name. 7 years of nothing. Until a Tuesday in March 2026, when my sister finally typed Sabrina Lane into a search bar. She was not looking for me. She was looking for money. 6 months before the voicemails, I got an email at work. Subject line, "From your Aunt Paula. Please read." I stared at it for 20 minutes before clicking. Paula was my mother's younger sister. Growing up, she was the quiet one at family gatherings. Always there, always pleasant, always watching, never stepping in. For years, I held that silence against her almost as much as I held the theft itself. Her email was 3 paragraphs, no excuses. She said she was sorry she stayed silent. She said she had been afraid of Donna. Your mother has a way of making people disappear from her life, and I was not brave enough to be next. Then she told me something that made my jaw tighten. Grandma Rose's education fund had been handled by Mr. Whitman, a lawyer in Columbus. Rose left clear instructions: $12,000 to Marlene, $12,000 to Sabrina, separate accounts, separate signatures required. My mother forged my signature, consolidated both accounts, and moved the money to Marlene. Paula knew because she had been Rose's witness on the original documents. I sat with that email a long time. $12,000 was not life-changing money anymore, not to me. By my second year at Harbor and Associates, I made more than that in a quarter, but the forgery mattered, the lie mattered. The fact that my mother stole from me and then called me unstable for asking about it was not about money. It was the blueprint of my entire childhood in one transaction. I did not file charges. The statute of limitations in Ohio had passed. Paula added one more line at the end. Your mother is chairing the Ridgefield Community Fundraiser this spring. The whole town will be there. I did not know why that mattered yet. I would. 2 months later, Marjorie came into my office holding her phone like it was good news. Do you know Pastor David Brooks? Small town in Ohio? Ridgefield? I kept my face still, but the name rang in my head like an alarm. I know Ridgefield. He's on the board of a community development nonprofit. They're doing a big fundraiser and want a keynote speaker, someone with development experience and small-town roots. I recommended you. I almost said no. The word was ready. Then I thought about Grandma Rose's letter, about that door closing in the snow, about 7 years of being a ghost in a story I did not write. I'll do it, I said. Marjorie smiled. Great. I'll send your bio to Pastor Brooks. After she left, I searched Ridgefield Community Fundraiser. The event page listed Donna Lane as committee chair. Venue, Community Center on Maple Street. Date, March 15th. I texted Paula, I know about the fundraiser. I am the keynote speaker. Her reply came in 30 seconds. I know. I did not tell your mother. Be ready. I was going back to Ridgefield, not through my mother's front door, through my own. 2 weeks before the fundraiser, Marlene sat at her kitchen table and Googled me. I know because Paula was there, and she told me everything. Marlene was 32, freshly divorced, and drowning. Her ex-husband had left 2 years earlier, taking the dog, half the savings, and most of her confidence. The mortgage was 3 months behind. The bank was circling. She needed a cosigner for a new loan. Donna's credit was wrecked. Gavin was retired and living on Social Security. Kevin owed $40,000 in student loans. Marlene needed someone with clean credit and a real income. So she thought of me the way you remember a tool you tossed in a junk drawer years ago, not with affection, with sudden practical interest. She typed my name. First result, LinkedIn. Sabrina Lane, COO, Harbor and Associates, Portland, Oregon. Second result, a business magazine profile. Rising leaders in Pacific Northwest community development. Third result, company bio, professional headshot, conference speaking credits. A quote from Marjorie calling me the operational backbone of what we had built. Paula said Marlene stared at the screen for a full minute without blinking. Then she called our mother. "Mom, you need to see this." "See what?" "Sabrina. She's a COO of a real company. She's been in Forbes coverage." The sound Donna made was not joy, not relief, not pride. It was a sharp inhale, the sound of a person realizing the story she told for 7 years had caught fire in her hands. "That's impossible," Donna said. "She didn't even finish She did not finish the sentence, because finishing it meant admitting the lie belonged to her. The calls started that evening. I was in a conference room in Portland wrapping up a quarterly review. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Then again. Then again. By the end of the meeting, I had 43 missed calls from Ohio area codes. Some numbers I recognized, some I did not. All in the same 24-hour window. I went to my office, closed the door, and listened. Voicemail 1, Marlene. Breezy. Practiced, like she was calling about brunch. "Sabrina, it's Marlene. I know it's been a while. Listen, I need to talk to you about something important. Call me back." Voicemail 7, Gavin. Halting, uncomfortable. "Honey, it's Dad. Your mother and I, well, the family's been going through a rough patch. We could really use your help. Give us a call when you can." Voicemail 15, Donna. Clipped, controlled. "Sabrina, this is your mother. I do not know what you have been doing out there, but family is family. We need to talk." Voicemail 23, Kevin, chewing something. "Yo, Sab, it's Kevin. Looks like you're doing pretty good out there." "That's cool. Hey, listen, I have this business idea and I could use some backing. Just a little something to get started. Hit me back." Voicemail 38, Marlene again. The breezy voice was gone. "Sabrina, I know you're seeing these. I need help. Please, just call me. Help me. Help me." 2 words, over and over. Different voices, different levels of desperation. Same meaning. Not "I'm sorry," not "I was wrong," not "I missed you." Help me. 43 voicemails, 0 apologies. I listened to everyone start to finish. Some twice. Then I set my phone on the desk, leaned back in my chair, and looked at the ceiling for a long time. I called Jenna. She picked up on the second ring. "My family found me." Silence. Then, "Which part hurts?" "The part where I am not surprised?" Jenna let that sit. She knew better than to fill silence with comfort when I needed room to feel the weight. 7 years of building a life from $200 and a bus ticket. 7 years of therapy, work, rent, tuition, bus rides, and learning how to trust a locked door. And the first time my family reached out, it was not to ask if I was okay. It was to ask what I could give them. I had not been an ATM when I was 23 and broke, but apparently I became one when a title appeared beside my name. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I did not call back. I did not block them either. Blocking felt like a reaction, and I was done reacting to the Lane family. "What are you going to do?" Jenna asked. "Nothing different. I have the Ridgefield fundraiser in 2 weeks. You're still going? It's my job. I do not rearrange my career because my family cannot rearrange their behavior." She laughed softly. "Okay, COO, go get them." 3 days after the voicemails, an email came to my work inbox from diane.lane.ridgeeggmail.com. Subject, Your mother. Sabrina, After everything this family has done for you, you cannot even return a phone call? I spent 7 years defending you to people who asked where you were. I told them you were getting help. I protected your reputation, and this is how you repay me? I always told people you were selfish. I guess I was right. I read it twice. Saved it. Did not answer. The next day, a LinkedIn message from Marlene. I see you're doing well for yourself. Congratulations, I guess. But family is family, Sabrina. I need a cosigner on a loan. It's not a lot. You owe us that much. Oh, the Lane family currency. Then Kevin posted on Facebook, public, tagging half the extended family. Funny how some people get a fancy title and forget where they came from. Family supported you your whole life, and now you're too good to answer your phone. Hashtag ungrateful. Hashtag family first. 41 likes. 12 comments. I screenshotted everything. The email, the LinkedIn message, the post. Not for court. For myself. For the mornings when I might wake up and wonder if I had imagined it, if maybe they were not that bad, if maybe I should have tried harder. Evidence that I was not the problem. That evening, Paula texted, "They know you're the fundraiser speaker. Your mother found out from the event program. They are planning to be there." So now I knew. They were not only calling, they were coming. March 15th, I flew into Columbus, rented a car, and drove 90 minutes through flat gray Ohio farmland. Ridgefield looked smaller than I remembered. The hardware store, the diner. First Presbyterian with the white steeple poking above bare trees like a finger telling everyone to hush. Everything was the same, which somehow made it feel like I had changed dimensions. The community center on Maple Street was decorated like a wedding for the whole town. White tablecloths, rented centerpieces, a banner across the entrance. Building tomorrow together. 200 seats. Nearly all full by the time I arrived through the speaker entrance on the side. At the registration table, a volunteer about my mother's age looked at my badge and smiled. "Ms. Lane, welcome. Pastor Brooks is excited to have you." I wondered if she remembered me. I wore a charcoal blazer, white blouse, hair pulled back. My badge read, Sabrina Lane, COO, Harbor and Associates, keynote speaker. Through the doorway, I could see the main hall. Tables of 8, teachers, shop owners, church members, neighbors, people who had heard my mother's version of me for 7 years. And at the center table, in a navy dress with fresh hair and a committee chair smile, sat my mother, Donna Lane. Gavin beside her, quiet as always. Marlene in a new outfit she probably could not afford. Kevin near the buffet, scrolling his phone. My whole family, 20 feet away, with no idea who was about to take the stage. Pastor David Brooks was tall, with kind eyes and a microphone voice that filled the room without effort. He stepped to the podium at 7:15. "Good evening, Ridgefield. Thank you for being here tonight. This fundraiser is about community, about building something bigger than ourselves." Polite applause, silverware on plates. Our keynote speaker tonight is someone who embodies that mission. She grew up in a small town, started her career from the ground up, and now serves as Chief Operating Officer of Harbor and Associates, a firm that has impacted more than 50,000 families across the Pacific Northwest. She was recently featured in regional business coverage of rising community development leaders. Please give a warm Ridgefield welcome to Sabrina Lane. Applause started. I stepped from behind the curtain and walked to the podium. For 1 second, I was 23 again, standing in a living room while my mother told 15 people I was broken. Then I looked out. 200 faces. Some I knew, some I did not. At the center table, 4 faces I knew better than any on earth. Donna's smile disappeared. Her mouth opened slightly, closed, opened again. Her hands gripped the table edge. Then her eyes darted left and right, checking who had seen her reaction. Even in shock, my mother's first instinct was audience management. Gavin set his water glass down so hard it sloshed onto the tablecloth. For a moment, he looked like a man remembering something terrible he had done a long time ago. Marlene put one hand to her chest. Kevin stopped chewing with his fork in the air. The audience stood. 200 people, the neighbors, church members, teachers, and shop owners who had been told for 7 years that I was unstable, who had prayed for me on Sundays, who had whispered about me at the post office, rose from their seats and gave me a standing ovation. My mother sat frozen at the center of it, the only person in the room still in her chair. I let the applause settle, adjusted the microphone, took a breath. "Thank you, Pastor Brooks. Thank you, Ridgefield. It has been a while." Light laughter. A few people exchanged glances. I delivered the keynote I came to deliver. 20 minutes on community development, grant strategy, funding structures, local leadership, case studies, housing, small business support, and the power of people who stay long enough to rebuild. Professional, polished, the same kind of speech I had given at conferences across the country. Then, near the end, I shifted. "I grew up in a small town like this one," I said. "Some of you may remember me." A murmur moved through the room. "I left this town 7 years ago with $200 and one suitcase. I did not leave because I wanted drama. I left because staying was costing me something I could not afford to lose." Silence, the kind with weight. I was told I was unstable. I was told I needed professional help. The truth is, the help I needed was distance. I did not look at my mother's table. I did not have to. This career started because someone in Portland looked at me and saw a person. Not a problem to manage, not a story to tell at church. A person. I paused. Community development is not only grants and buildings. It is seeing people. Really seeing them, not the version that fits someone else's story, not the version that makes a room more comfortable, the actual person standing in front of you. The room was still. Mrs. Callahan, my 10th grade English teacher, pressed a hand to her mouth. Her husband turned and stared at Donna's table. Whispers started like a match catching. "That's Donna's daughter. The one she said was in a facility? She's a COO?" When I finished, the room stood again. Longer this time. Some people wiped their eyes. My mother did not stand. She sat perfectly still, napkin clenched in both fists, her face blotchy red. The networking portion was supposed to be wine and small talk. It became something else. I stepped off the stage into a crowd. People I had not seen in 7 years shook my hand, touched my arm, and said things like, "We had no idea. Your grandmother would be so proud. You did beautifully." Mrs. Callahan hugged me so hard I heard her back crack. Then my mother cut through the crowd like a blade. She arrived with a smile so tight it looked bolted on. 20 people were within earshot. She would not make a scene. She would perform. "Sabrina, sweetheart." Her arms opened for a hug. I did not step into it. "What a surprise," she said. "Why didn't you tell us you were coming?" "You had my number, Mom. 7 years. The smile flickered. She stepped closer and lowered her voice. "You embarrassed this family." I did not name anyone. If people drew conclusions, that is not my responsibility. Marlene appeared at her shoulder. "We've been trying to reach you, Sabrina. We need to talk about the family." "I heard your voicemails, all 43. Not one apology. Just help me." That is not a family reaching out. That is a collection call. Gavin came up behind them, eyes on the floor. "Sabrina, let's not do this here." "Dad, you had 7 years to not do this. You chose not to." Kevin trailed behind. "You think you're better than us now?" "No," I said. "I think I am done being less than you needed me to be." I stepped back, straightened my blazer, and nodded to Pastor Brooks, who was watching near the stage with concern and understanding mixed on his face. Then I walked toward the exit. Steady, no running, no slamming. I had done enough of that 7 years earlier. I sat in my rental car for 20 minutes with the engine off and my hands on the wheel. Through the community center windows, I could see people standing in clusters looking toward the door I had just walked through. The Whisper Network was at full speed. By morning, every kitchen table in Ridgefield would have a new version of Tonight. I called Jenna. "It's done," I said. "I said what I needed to say." How do you feel? Like I am 30 years old for the first time. She laughed. I almost did too. That night, in my hotel room in Columbus, I opened my laptop and wrote one email to my mother, my father, Marlene, and Kevin. I am writing this once. I am not co-signing any loan. I am not sending money. I am not funding anyone's business idea. I am not angry. I am clear. If any of you want a real relationship with me, it does not begin with a voicemail asking for help. It begins with an honest conversation where someone says what happened out loud, not "we did our best," not "that's in the past," not "family is family." A specific apology for the fund, the lies, and the 7 years of telling this town I was in a facility while I was building a career. Until that happens, I wish you well. My answer is no. I read it twice, changed nothing, pressed send. Then I turned off the light and lay in a hotel bed 3 miles from the town where I grew up, listening to Ohio silence for the first time in 7 years. No music, no tears, just the quiet satisfaction of a woman who had stopped negotiating with people who never valued the deal. A week after the fundraiser, I called Mr. Whitman, the lawyer Grandma Rose named in her letter. He was retired now, 81, living in a condo near Easton, but he remembered her. "Your grandmother was a remarkable woman," he said. "She came to me because she did not trust your mother with those accounts. She made me promise to keep the original documents. And when my mother forged my signature?" He sighed. "I did not find out until later. By then, the statute of limitations was running. I am sorry, Sabrina. I should have done more." The $12,000 was gone. Legally, there was no recovery. But I had been thinking about what Grandma Rose would have wanted. Not revenge, not even repayment. Legacy. I contacted Portland State University's financial aid office and set up a small annual scholarship funded from my own salary for students estranged from their families, students who had no family contribution on paper, not because their parents could not help, but because their parents would not. I named it the Rose Lane Community Scholarship. The university published the announcement on its website. 2 paragraphs. My name, my grandmother's name. A photo of the 2 of us from the box, 6-year-old me with a gap-toothed grin, Grandma Rose behind me with her hands on my shoulders and pearls catching the light. It was not about the amount, it was about rewriting the ending. My grandmother spent her whole life being polite about her own cage. She never left. She never said the hard thing where everyone could hear. She stayed, afraid, surrounded by people who underestimated her. I named a scholarship after her. Let them Google that. The first recipient wrote me a letter. Her name was Alina. She was 19, studying social work, and living with 2 roommates because her parents had cut her off after she reported her stepfather to a school counselor. She wrote in careful block letters on notebook paper, "Dear Ms. Lane, I do not know how to thank someone for believing me without meeting me. I read that line in my office and had to close the door. That was what the scholarship was really for. Not tuition. Belief." Grandma Rose believed me before I had proof. Marjorie believed I could do more before my resume said so. Jenna believed my story the first time I told it. Belief is not a soft thing. Sometimes it is the bridge between surviving and building. I mailed Alina a short note back. "You do not owe me proof that you deserved help. Go build something." I think Grandma Rose would have liked that. Paula called me 3 days after the fundraiser. I let it ring twice before answering. She was crying before I said hello. "I should have said something years ago," she said. "At Thanksgiving. At every Thanksgiving. I watched your mother do this to you, and I sat there like everyone else. You're saying it now. That counts. It does not feel like enough. It isn't. But it is a start." Silence. "I need time, Paula. I appreciate the emails. I appreciate the warning. But trust is not a switch. I cannot flip it just because someone is finally honest." "I understand." Her voice steadied. "Can I tell you what happened after you left?" I leaned back in my office chair. "Go ahead. The town will not stop talking. Everyone keeps asking the same question. Donna said she was in a facility. How is she a COO? Your mother cannot go into the post office without someone bringing it up. Mrs. Callahan told her Bible study group, Pastor Brooks has not said anything publicly, but he asked your mother to step back from the committee. She lost the chair position? Voluntarily, she says, but everyone knows. I let that settle. I did not feel triumphant. I did not feel sorry either. Paula, can I ask you something? Anything. When you watched my mother forge my signature, why did you not stop her? Dead air. Then, because I was afraid she would do to me what she did to you. I am ashamed of that every day. I believed her. Shame like that does not come out smooth. It catches on the way up. We will talk again, I said. Give me time. Take whatever you need. For the first time in years, the word family did not taste bitter in my mouth. Complicated, yes, but not only bitter. In Ridgefield, reputation is currency. My mother had just filed for bankruptcy. Within a week of the fundraiser, the narrative Donna Lane spent 7 years building came apart like wet paper. The troubled daughter, the brave mother, the family united in prayer. Gone. The post office, the diner, the pharmacy parking lot, the pews at First Presbyterian. Every gathering place became a courtroom, and Donna was on trial even when she was not there. She told us Sabrina was in rehab. Did you see the business profile? A COO? I prayed for that girl every Sunday, and Donna stood right beside me. And the scholarship, named after Rose? The information moved through Ridgefield the way all small-town information moves. Not exactly gossip, more like collective recalibration. People were adjusting the picture in their heads. The story they believed for 7 years was being replaced, frame by frame, by a different one. The new story did not need Donna's narration. It spread because it was true. Pastor Brooks called my mother personally. According to Paula, he was gentle but firm. Maybe take a step back from the committee, Donna, just for a season. Give people time. Donna resigned publicly, saying she wanted to focus on family. The irony sat in that sentence like a stone in a shoe. My father surprised me. Gavin moved into the guest bedroom. Not a divorce, not even a formal separation, just a closed door between him and the woman he had enabled for 30 years. Paula heard him one evening through the kitchen window. You lied, Donna, about your own daughter. You told this whole town she was broken, and she stood on that stage and proved you wrong without saying your name. Donna said, she turned this town against me. And my father said, no, you did that yourself 7 years ago. She just showed up. It was the first honest sentence my father had spoken in my lifetime. Too late to save us. Maybe not too late to save himself. Marlene lost the house. Without a cosigner, the loan fell through. The bank completed foreclosure 60 days later. She packed what she could into a storage unit and moved back into my parents' house on Sycamore Drive, into my old room. Paula told me carefully, like she was describing a building collapse. She's sleeping in your room, Sabrina, the one with the nail holes from your posters. I did not speak for a while. Is the mark still by the closet, where I measured my height every birthday? I don't know. Probably. The golden child, the one who got the fund, the car, the sorority dues, the toast at Thanksgiving, the first hug and the second, was now 32, divorced, unemployed, and sleeping in the room of the sister she never defended. Did I feel satisfied? A little. I am human. But mostly, I felt something sadder. Marlene had never been given the tools to build anything on her own. Every scaffold in her life had been assembled by my mother, the school, the job connections, the money meant for both of us, the story that she was the star and I was the problem. When the scaffolding came down, there was no muscle underneath, no callus, no resilience. Being the golden child is its own cage. You just do not notice the bars because they shine. Marlene did not apologize. Paula said she told people, If Sabrina had just helped, none of this would have happened. Still blaming, still pointing, still Elaine. But Paula also told me something I have not forgotten. One night, she saw Marlene standing in the doorway of my old room, running her finger along a nail hole in the wall, the one where I had hung Grandma Rose's photo. She stood there a long time. She did not say a word. I thought about calling her after Paula told me that. My finger even hovered over her number once. Not because I wanted to rescue her, because the old part of me, the part trained to respond to every crack in the house, still heard distress like a command. But then I remembered the email I had sent. A real relationship starts with an honest conversation, not me chasing the silence again. So, I did nothing. Doing nothing can be an action when you have spent your whole life over-functioning. It felt strange at first, almost cruel. Then, it felt like rest. Kevin's reckoning came from an unexpected place. His girlfriend, Tasha, a dental hygienist from the next town over, saw the Facebook post, the one calling me ungrateful, the one that made Kevin feel righteous for about an hour. Tasha did not like it. According to Paula, she packed an overnight bag and said, "You publicly shamed your sister because she would not give you money. That is not who I want to be with." Kevin deleted the post, but the internet remembers what people wish it would forget. Screenshots had already moved through Ridgefield's unofficial text chains, faster than the town newspaper ever managed. He was 27 years old and learning that actions on a screen have weight in the real world. Gavin's letter arrived at my office 6 weeks after the fundraiser. By mail. Not email, not text. A white envelope with his handwriting, careful and slanted, like every word had to be earned. I opened it at my desk. "Sabrina, I do not know if I have the right to say this, but I am sorry. Not for your mother. For me. For sitting in that chair and saying nothing. For every time I told you not to upset your mother when I should have told her to stop. I was not keeping the peace. I was keeping my comfort. You deserved a father who chose you even when it was loud. I did not. I will carry that. Dad." I read it twice, then I set it in my desk drawer. I did not answer. It was the first apology I had received from Elaine, from the person I expected it from last. 3 months after the fundraiser, Portland, a Sunday evening in June. I am standing in my kitchen stirring pasta while Jenna argues with my neighbor Darren about whether hot sauce belongs on garlic bread. Marjorie is on my couch with a glass of red wine, telling a story about a grant proposal that went sideways in the most dramatic way possible. 2 colleagues from the office are setting my dining table, the one I bought at an estate sale in Selwood. 6 chairs, oak, scratched, imperfect, and mine. This is my Sunday dinner now. Same people, give or take. No obligations, no performance, no one here because they have to be. Everyone here because they want to be. When we sit down, I look around the table and think about another one. Longer. Better china. A house in Ohio where I was invisible. This table is smaller. The plates do not match. The wine is $12. I have never felt more seen. Gavin's letter sits in my desk drawer at work. I have not replied. Maybe I will. Maybe I will not. I am letting that decision take whatever shape it needs, and I am not rushing it. Donna has not contacted me since my email. Marlene has not either. Kevin sent a one-word text 2 weeks ago. Sorry, no period, no follow-up. I saw it. I have not answered. I do not know what happens next with any of them. For the first time in my life, I am okay not knowing. The door is not locked, but it is not open either. It is just there, waiting for someone to knock with something more than 2 words. Until then, I have pasta. I have wine. I have this table. That is enough. If you are still listening, I want to say something directly to you. If you recognize any of this, the scapegoat role, the voicemails that only come when someone needs money, the story someone else wrote about your life while you were still living it, the family that does not call on your birthday but calls the second they see a dollar sign, you are not crazy. You are not ungrateful. You are not selfish. Those words they throw when you stop shrinking are the sound of people losing control of a story they never had the right to tell. The two words my family said were, "Help me." The two words I needed to hear were, "I'm sorry." They are not the same sentence, and you do not owe anyone the first until they have given you the second. I used to think family meant loyalty, showing up no matter what, swallowing your voice so the table stayed quiet and everyone could pretend silence was peace. Now I know better. Real family chooses you on purpose, not because your name is useful on a loan application, not because your title makes them look better, not because they ran out of people to exploit. The bravest thing I ever did was not walking out that door with $200 and snow on the ground. It was not walking back in when they finally called and all they had to offer was a demand. My name is Sabrina Lane. I am 30 years old. The most expensive thing I own is not a title or a salary. It is the silence I can finally afford. Grandma Rose once told me, "The quietest person in the room is usually the one paying the most attention." She was right. I was paying attention. Eventually, I learned to pay myself first. That is my story. If your family called tomorrow after years of silence, what do you think they would say? Help me or I'm sorry. Write it in the comments. And if you want more stories about people who stopped shrinking so someone else could feel tall, subscribe and stay close. Sometimes the door you close gently is the one that saves your life.